house to yours. Welcome to EMS at Sea Level. Today I am with the publisher of EMSNOW, Eric Miscoll. Eric, I was excited to see yesterday on the site that you are promoting a survey of US, Canadian, Mexican, North American EMS companies. Let's start with the obvious question, why?
Yes, thank you, and good to be with you. Why is because nobody knows how many there are. So this is focused on what we're doing is we decide to launch a survey of North American-based EMS companies, right? So we just don't know. I've been studying this industry since 1998 when I started with technology forecasters, market research, and even back then, and we were the preeminent market researcher back then. We speculated as to how many there were. You know, is it 1,200? Is it 2,500? You know, and there were a lot of other market research firms back then studying the industry too. And, you know, the truth is we didn't know, nobody knew. And I think, you know, when I look around today, there's far fewer market research firms focusing on doing anything in this regard. I look at a region like Europe where, you know, Dita Weiss with Informa has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that market and offering good insight that I think provides good value. And so, you know, I thought, what the heck, why not try to do something like that here? And, you know, I will say one of the core issues for us is that it has to be an EMS that does PCBA, right? There's a lot of people who say, I'm a contract manufacturer, and you say, oh, there has to be, you know, some of them just do cable. It's contract manufacturing, but we have traditionally, going back to even tech forecasters, never included those. But if an EMS company that does PCBA and does cable as well, then we will include you. So
no, that makes sense. So you almost define an EMS as someone that's got an SMT line. You know,
at least one somewhere, right? So
yeah, absolutely. You gotta be placing some components on some PCBs, and you're not doing it on your own. You've got the support, sponsorship, partnership of the great and good IPC. How did that?
No, we were glad to do that. IPC, of course, you know, everybody knows it's the preeminent kind of industry association, and they do a lot of good work, and they have the research side too. And, you know, while I conceived of doing this initially, I also was aware that the IPC does its own research with the EMS space. And I wanted to be careful not to compete with that. And so, and we can get into this here as we go forward, but so I reached out to them saying, you know, I don't want to compete. And I shared with what we were doing with them and saying, you know, I think it's a natural to kind of and explain the motivation, and they were very keen to be a part of it, and I was glad. Because they cover a lot of data sets that we simply will be asking, and because I'm also well aware, again going back to my roots, that people don't really like participating in market research, right? They don't like for it either, by the way. But most people want. Everybody wants to know. They don't want to give and pay, right? So you know, I've been very careful to try to design something that's quick and easy and doesn't ask for all of your, you know, IP.
Your bank account details and that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. your PIN numbers and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's kind of explore the process. How are you collecting data? What data and what questions are you asking?
Yeah, no, thanks. We're doing it using just a simple survey methodology. We're using the SurveyMonkey platform. I think most people nowadays have heard familiar and probably participated in some way on SurveyMonkey. And it's a simple thing. It only takes a few minutes. So what we ask is somebody just simply to log in. It will begin by asking that qualifying question. Does your company offer PCBA as a core service? If they check the yes box, they get to move forward. If they check the no box, we say, thank you very much. And then it's simple things. I'll just kind of review it real quick. Kind of, you know, how many employees do you have, you know, in your operations? Then how many manufacturing facilities do you have? And I break it down into countries. So again, North America, how many facilities do you have in Canada, Mexico, and the US, right? I put another one because somebody may also have something in China still too, right?
Yeah.
There's cheers who have more, but again, our focus is to capture more about and define the North American market.
Mm.
I do the same for how much floor space do you have in these regions? How many SMT lines do you have there? And then the basic questions, I give them just a list of services, traditional EMS services. Which of these do you offer, right? So
yeah,
that
it's like check boxes.
Yeah, just check boxes. And then same with industry sectors. How, which of these sectors do you serve? And as things are ever changing, there's always that other box, right? Because, some products don't simply categorize into one of the traditional sectors. And then for sizing purposes, that's always the challenging one. People, what I opted to do is to ask people to indicate a revenue level by checking a box. So we kind of set it, under 10 million all the way up to over 1 billion. So there's about 7, 8 levels within that. Just check a box. We're not asking your absolute ones. Just check a box so we can do that, because that could also will allow us hopefully to estimate some about how much business is going on in this region. And then frankly, at the end, all of the data that we're going to do will be reflected in aggregate, right? We want to paint a picture, kind of an operational profile of the industry in North America. But I do give people the option at the end to check a box. Would you like a simple profile of your company included, right? And so when I report out, if somebody wants to, and by the way, with the results that are coming, some people, it's about half and half right now. Some are choosing to want to be involved. Some are saying, no, don't include us in that. And that's, they get to control that, they get to decide.
Yeah, so those that don't include, that's anonymized data, which tells you how many companies there are in each of those bands, number of SMT lines in the particular areas, that kind of thing.
Right. And I should say, and I do ask for basic company information, your company name, what's your website, what state and where are you headquartered, right? City, state, country. And then I ask for a contact person, not to be blasting them with, but mostly in case we need clarification on this, and also for follow-up, because our intent is to do this as an annual exercise moving forward and to continue to refine and provide to the industry a profile of what's going on within EMS in North America.
Yeah. So how many do you think you're going to get? Have you kind of got an estimate in mind?
No, and that's a good question. I have been asked that. First of all, I don't know how many are out there, which is issues. So if we say that there's 1,000, or there's been some interesting back and forth between some players already about the numbers out there. I would be happy with several hundred to start. I haven't established, by the way, a deadline for when it ends. So my intent is to run it through the end of September at this point. We just launched, so we'll run it through September. We'll continue to encourage people through various venues to participate. And then at the end of September, we'll see kind of where we're at, and if we're happy, what we can do with the data, if we want to extend that a few more weeks, or how we want to do that. If we could get a good 50%, that would be a great start for the first year, right? And then we can roll it forward and hopefully grow it next year even more.
Yeah, so we have this nice solid piece of
I was
data.
gonna say, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's also the trust issue, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, and so people want to say, okay, it's EMSNOW, I know their publisher, that's right. They may not have participated with us in any way. They may not know us very well. So there's the trust issue that we have to establish, that we do this, that what we reflect out is professional, that we stick to our word, and that we do a good job on this. So, and hopefully we do, I expect we will, and then we'll do even better next year.
Yeah, no, that's always the case, isn't it? I think you've got to establish a process, establish the kind of thing that you're going to put together, and it will get better every year as you do that, and more companies will participate because they see it as something that's there, actually seeing the first one. So I'm an EMS company. If I'm smart, I can probably see that there's value in participating and being listed within this directory. or within this piece of research. But there'll be some that just look at it and say, well, you know, it's going to take me 4 minutes of my time. What do I get back from that? Do they get a free EMSNOW pen or a Snickers bar or something in the post?
That's a good idea. I should do that. You know, and I have been asked this, and so right now what we're saying is that we'll include you and you'll participate in the research, and we'll include a profile of you that we will make available to the industry, right? So that, and I think that there's value in that, because I think with a lot of the global trends in the industry, especially the term I hate, the reshoring, but you know, with business kind of shifting around,
regionalizing,
you know, regionalizing it and doing that. I think knowing the players is important. So I think that being able to offer that profile, which we're just going to make available, right? I'm not looking, you know, I'm not monetizing that for EMSNOW in the sense of going to be selling a report or a list. That's not our intent. And I'm glad to share that out. Because listen, everybody knows who the big and probably the mediums are, but how many people, I'm sitting here in Dallas, Texas. How many people know the $5 million EMS company that does superb work in Garland, Texas, on the other side of the here? Probably very few, unless you live in the Metroplex. So I think there's benefit to that. You know, this could also be, I think it's of interest to companies who are looking to sell equipment and various services to the industry. I think it's interesting for other EMS companies potentially. There's a lot of M&A activity that's gone on and will continue to go on. So I think it's a good way to kind of raise the profile of some of the lesser knowns.
Yeah, well, all insights comes from great data. So we've got to start somewhere with that data. I get what's in it for you guys. What about IPC? What's their motivation?
I think IPC just wants to continue their being involved in the research in the industry. That they already partner in Europe, as an example. They are participants with DTAVICE and Informa on the work that they're doing there. So I think there's a natural, and Dita is somebody who's a colleague of ours, and we kind of collaborate on. He actually did some collaboration and gave some advisement on the survey that we're doing. Because I think he's just doing the best research in the industry these days.
Yeah, if you can reflect that in North America, then you'll have done a great job.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get the level of specificity that either the IPC or DTRA do. That's not my intent. You know, mine is just a basic profile to identify the players and raise and then it will be evolving over the years ahead. So I'd like to continue to reflect that. So from the IPC, I think they see it as a benefit to the industry, and I think that, as always, they're
valuable data
industry. So
yeah, and if like I say, if you can do something that's the quality of Dita's work, the challenge there is Dita's been doing it for like 100 years, so it's got some momentum behind it.
And a lot of his is secondary. He has a lot of secondary research sources, right? We're doing only primary research. You know, I can go to a Celestica website, pull the basic information I need for a profile, right? Who I am hoping to get are those, again, as I said, those lesser known ones, those smaller ones, who may be under the $200 million range, right? Heck, I worked for one, right? And years ago, we did excellent work, great service, but you know, some people weren't aware of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
no, I think it's hugely valuable. No, I absolutely commend you for doing it. It's a big task, and it'll be really interesting to see the results. I just think it's you know, what we've got to do is get as many eyes on it as possible. Make sure that when people do see it and do fill it in, they forward it to all of their colleagues, so it gets around as many people as possible. And you know, that's the great thing about not just EMSNOW, but the networks on LinkedIn and the various different social media opportunities. You've got to keep telling people about it. And my experience with surveys and anything like this is you just gotta ask again and keep asking.
Yeah. And you know, I do them nowadays just out of guilt, because I used to always, you know, have to ask people to share that data. So now when I'm asked to, I just do it saying, you know, it's just what goes around comes around. But
yeah, it's karma.
And I would say that, you know, just to people who watch this and see this, if you're EMS, I know nobody really loves to do this. It's really, designed to be a very easy, simple survey that is just top of the head information who somebody works in a company should really know, right? And if they be willing to do that, I think it does a great service for the industry.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It makes perfect sense. Great job, Eric. Look forward to seeing the results come October or whenever they're out.
Yes, sir.
Back quarter of the year.
Yes.
And look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely, Phil. Thank you, sir.